Good evening, how are you? I do this thing I call Welcome to Bronzeville, so welcome to Bronzeville. That's good. Hey, thank you, Chef Trillis. I appreciate it. So, how many of you guys, by show of hands, are foodies? Well, everyone here should be foodies. There should be 2 hands up. So, I'm here. I'm here to talk to a brother from Chicago. He's originally from the west side of Chicago, so we got a chance. Yeah, west side, give it up. Although you're on the south siders, give it up. Yeah. So we chopped it up about this a little bit, where we were talking. There's always rivalries when you come from Chicago. Outside of Chicago, it never matters, right? But only in Chicago do we root like that. So I'll tell you a little bit about where you are and what we've been doing on the south side of Chicago. In restaurants in general, we started this endeavor because what we wanted to do is create an opportunity for people not only to have a place of employment within the communities that they live, but more importantly, we wanted to be able to do it on the corner of 47 and King Drive. So it was a very conscious decision to be able to do that. There's a lot of people who live in the community who work here that have an opportunity to go across the street to Illinois Service Federal, now GN Bank, which is one of the last standing African-American owned banks in the country. They get a chance to take that check and cash it, walk right down the street to Bill Ball Bakery, a bakery and a baker who's been in the community for over 30 years. Then they get a chance to take that money and go pay their rent or their house note or whatever it is in the community right down the street. So for us, when we think about economic impact, when we think about investment in a community, we make conscious decisions to do that. And through food has allowed us, and it's been a vehicle to create great opportunities. So I sit here with great pleasure in introducing a friend, now a food friend, Darius Cooks.
Good evening. Happy Friday.
So I'm gonna start off with just some basic questions. We already talked about you're from Chicago. You're originally from Chicago.
Born and raised.
Born and raised, west side of Chicago. Why Atlanta now?
Because it doesn't snow.
That's true.
No. So Chicago, 29 years. So I grew up in Chicago, grew up on the west side, born and raised. I love Chicago. People who follow me know that. I say it as much as I possibly can. I even wear t-shirts in my videos that say 4 wings fried hard with salt, pepper, and mild sauce, okay? So I rep Chicago hard. I was here in Chicago 29 years, and then I was actually so I've gone through a rough patch in life, and people who go through rough patches can go to, I don't know, Israel or something, or go to Africa and find themselves. I was broke, so I couldn't really go find myself. Couldn't go that far, okay? So what I did was I got on the road to go to Philadelphia to get cheesesteaks, okay? Always been fat, so I said, I'm gonna go. And we didn't have Google Maps back then. It was like MapQuest or something, right? So I missed the exit to go to Philly, and I ended up on the turnpike in New Jersey. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go to New York. Why not? So I'm in New York for a while. It felt like home at the moment, so I ended up staying in New York. I don't advise anyone ever do this, but I stayed in New York. I found a job in like 4 days. It's that West Side mentality.
Hustling.
You gotta hustle. So I was in New York, still working on food stuff, and I'm sure we'll get to it in some of the questions. And then what happened was I was able to quit my full-time job that I had to pursue my passion, because it just had got to a really good space financially. And I was like, the nor'easters were coming, and the snow was hitting me upside the face as I'm walking across. I'm like, Jesus, listen, we got to do something about this weather. So I was like, where could I go now, right? I didn't have to stay in New York, and so it was either between LA, Atlanta, or Houston, and Atlanta won. So I went to Atlanta and set up shop down there, and that's where I've been for the last 3 years, because the weather is a little bit better than up here. You gotta agree. And it's like consecutively, like year after year after year, it's like, I can't do this snow anymore.
Yeah.
It was 70 degrees last Christmas in Atlanta.
And we also joke that everyone from Atlanta is not even from Atlanta, right?
Right.
Everyone's from Chicago and other cities.
No,
so.
it's true. You go to Publix, which is like, our jewel. You go to Publix, and it's like Illinois license plate, Illinois license plate, Illinois license plate. So I go, what part of Chicago you from? He's like, I'm from the south side. Oh, I'm from the west side.
See how it goes?
Yeah.
So let's talk about a very familiar story to most of probably part of the audience. Cooking in the kitchen with your grandmother.
Sure.
All right, so set that up for me. How was that?
I think probably like most of us grew up. We grew up broken family. We grew up very poor, but we had so much love that we didn't really know we were poor, right? It wasn't until other people were like, "Oh, you're eating ramen noodles." I'm like, "You don't eat ramen noodles? Because we eat ramen, and they're delicious. What do you mean?"
Right.
So we grew up, just like, kind of struggling. And then, Sundays we would, scruff up what we had. 2 bunches of collard greens were 39 cents. A piece of smoked meat was, $1, and so we were able to afford that. And just sort of seeing how my grandmother would basically turn nothing into something, right? And we had these amazing meals. And it really wasn't, the food was great, but for me it was like what the food was able to do. And that was bring people together, right? It was at a moment when everybody's so busy, all the family sort of gathers around and has a good time, like on Sundays or on holidays. And so I just sort of watch in amazement as that happened. To me, I think that was sort of an uncanny ability to be able to do that, because not many folks can do it.
Right.
And I said, yo, I want to be able to do that. Like, I want to be able to get the party started like my grandmother. So just watching, and it worked out because the food was good. And so I've been eating a long time. I've been enjoying food for a long time. And so I said, okay, I want to learn how to do that. So I started doing it, not really realizing it was a gift. I think anybody who's super talented at anything in life, you don't really wake up one day and go, oh, I got a gift, I'm good. You're not born that way. It's something that clicks that goes, oh, I really am kind of good. Maybe I should pursue this. And that's what happened. So just seeing my mother in the kitchen, not really understanding that I had a gift just yet, but saying I have this sort of affinity for what food does, how it tastes, how it's able to bring people together, and I say, hey, I want to be able to do that.
And that's generally like a personal moment, because I remember as a kid standing on, my grandmother had a flour can, right? Because I wasn't tall enough to reach the stove, so I would stand on the flour can and I would hold on to a robe, and so in our household it was never a robe, it was called a house coat. Right, so I hold on to the house coat and I look over her hip and I'd see her frying stuff, and like it'd be giant pots of greens, which seemed like it cooked like 3 days, right? Because it was never ready. Yeah. But I find I don't care where you're from, I don't care what color you are, everyone has a story, very much like that. And so that's generally where the passion comes from. That was my first love affair with the kitchen. So obviously that was yours.
Yeah, it was, you know what? It was eating it, man. I don't know if it was so much as cooking. I don't really care. Where's the hot sauce? Okay, I think for me it was more so, it was the eating that really got me. Even to today, it's still eating. But then when I realized, like I said, when I realized it was a gift and I started saying, okay, I can do this and I'm pretty good at it, then that sort of responsibility clicks on in your mind that goes, I should probably take this a little bit more seriously and just understand what it is, and sort of try to be able to do it. I think the earlier memory, I think I started like 9 years old, and I write about this in the cookbook. I was like 9 years old, and I would see my grandmother fry chicken. I've seen her do it a million times. We've all seen our grandmothers fry chicken, hand on the hip, the paper sack with the flour in, shaking it up and down.
Yes.
The flour goes back in the refrigerator. It's the same bag of flour from 1972. In the flour, there's toe cancer and gangrene.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen this, right, over and over. So I've seen her do this. So my grandmother was at work one day, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fry some chicken. I've seen her do it a million times. I could do it, why can't? So I pull out the chicken out the freezer, I defrost it, I season it. Back then, we just used Lawry's and black pepper. That was it. You just use seasoned salt, and I put the grease on. The grease was probably a little too hot. Didn't matter. You see what I'm saying? I put the chicken in. I shook it. I did the whole thing. So she comes home from work, and she's like, what'd you do? I said, oh, I fried chicken. 9 years old. I saw you do it, so I fried chicken. She said, Darius, we didn't have any chicken in the house. What are you doing? We didn't have a chicken. It was turkey wings that I fried. I didn't even know, okay? So before fried turkey became a fad, right?
You were doing it. 9 years old.
I take full responsibility for having fried turkey. But so that was like an earlier memory that just sort of made me go, all right, I guess I should probably just be a little bit more serious about this. I can do something,
Right.
but I better learn something before I burn up somebody's house or burn down some kitchen or something like that.
So
you know?
I've been in food service for over 25 years. And some of the best chefs in the world that I've worked with never went to culinary school.
Yeah.
Right? So you didn't go to school.
No.
Right? So you say that you didn't cook a lot, but you ate a lot because you went different places and you wanted to try different things. But it was just by chance, or?
Yeah, so I mean, I've traveled all over the country, you know, just trying to understand the food scene from different parts of the country. So I know, you know, Philadelphia's love for cheesesteaks and Italian food. I know Miami's love for fresh vegetables and Latin food, right? I know our love in Chicago for, you know, fried fish and fried chicken wings and spaghetti and the whole bit. You know what I mean? So I know in Italian beef, you know, dips with cheese and hot peppers and
That's South Side.
That's South Side? No, we got a couple of West Side joints. Don't do that.
You see that?
We got a couple of West Side places that make good Italian beef. No, so I spent a lot of time just traveling and sort of understanding that. And then just also honing the craft. I think I went to the school of Food Network. I can probably tell you. No, I'm telling you, listen, let's do a trivia right now. You call Alex Trebek, I'm going to win. I could probably answer every trivia question because I used to watch, you know, not just the Food Network, but like PBS shows like Yan Can Cook and Jeff Smith from the Frugal Gourmet and Lydia Bastianich and, you know, East Meets West with Ming Tsai, like all these cats, you know, Graham Kerr. I used to watch it religiously like every day. We didn't have cable, so you turn on channel 20, that's what used to come on, okay? You fiddle the antenna and then you get it. So that's kind of how I just became more and more interested. I would see them do it. I'm a Capricorn, so I feel like I could do whatever it is I see, you know, even though I'm gonna fail, but it doesn't matter, at least I can try.
Right.
And I just kept practicing, you know, just getting better. I would have family and friends come over to the house. You know, we have soul food Sundays back in the day. We don't do it no more.
It's too big.
Too
right?
many people.
Yeah.
Okay, but before Facebook, you know, we do Soul Food Sundays, and now is who are you? Where you come from? We got a lot of cousins. I know we have.
Yeah, that's usually how it happens.
Yeah, a lot of cousins.
Especially when you're cooking.
Yeah.
So how has that played a role in what you do? Because I know you come from a corporate background.
Yeah.
So have you made that applicable to your restaurants or just your cooking techniques, the discipline of that? Or
Not really cooking techniques. I think I still keep it down home. So I think the reason everything online has been so successful is because I feel like what I try to do is bring that down home into everything I do. So,
Right.
you know, it could be, you know, a whole fried fish with an Asian-inspired sauce. I'm going to figure out a way to make it soul-inspired, right?
Okay.
So I try to do that and weave that into whatever I do. You know, we make sangria. Sangria is great. I just came back from Madrid last week. The sangria is amazing, right?
you drink a lot of it?
I drank a lot of sangria. I had to, it was research. Okay.
That's what we call it.
Research. But I make sangria, but now we do like a red Kool-Aid sangria. You know what I mean? So I always try to figure out ways to just, you know, weave in how I grew up into what I do. In regards to my corporate background, so I was an HR director for a long time. I quit my job. It was a great job. Lovely corner office. It was great. But I quit that job to sort of pursue this passion. Mm-hmm. And so I still run my businesses like I work in corporate America. So I'm still there, like building teams, training teams, equipping teams. You know, together everyone achieves more. It's just what I know. You know, I've never been a restaurant chef a day in my life. I just play one on TV, and it works out.
And it still works.
It still works, yeah.
So do you find in your cooking techniques you try to use products that are indigenous to the space?
No, so you know what's interesting? Straight up, this is great. So when I first started food blogging and I first got on YouTube 10 years ago, I've been on YouTube for 10 years. When I first started, I said I didn't want to cook what everybody else was cooking.
Okay.
So why would somebody watch me when they could watch who they've been watching if I'm gonna, so I tried to push the envelope. But in doing so, I wanted to use everyday ingredients and just present them in different ways. So I don't really use weird stuff, right? I think people who are here that follow me, who make some of the recipes, like PJ's here, Pamela's here, Kendra's here. These are some people that follow me. They could tell you, they got the cookbook. I don't really use like weird ingredients. I just find a way to go, now I would have never thought about that. That's the response I want to get. And if I don't get, I would have never thought about that, I go back to the drawing board till I get, I would have never thought about that. And that's how we, that's
Hey
how
guys,
we do
what did he say? I would have never what?
thought about that.
There you go.
You know how you do it? You go, I would not, who would have ever thought to take red velvet and turn it into a Twinkie? I would have never thought about that.
No, you should coin that.
There, I probably should. I should have never thought about that. T-shirts available at DariusCooks.tv.
So, a lot of times when we're cooking, we're inspired. Like when I go to the market, right? I like the colors. So whatever I see, whether it's in season or not, I'm just thinking. Obviously, if it's there, it's in season. But what I'm thinking is, okay, what could I create?
Yeah.
Are you inspired like that? Does it hit a trigger?
No, I go to the market. I eat everything. So, no, for real. So we have this app. I don't know if you guys know Periscope, right? It's an app, and I go live. I'm actually live on Periscope right now. So my Periscope family, they're watching me. We actually grocery shop on Periscope together, talk about community. So I'll go to Publix and because people are very interested. They think I eat Wagyu beef and A5 tuna every day, and I'm like, no, I eat a lean cuisine from the freezer section, right? But they find it to be interesting when I go to create a recipe that I might be putting on YouTube or on the blog, but it starts by grocery shopping. So we do this together sometimes on Periscope, and the thought process for ideas happens literally before I go. So I sit down with a blank sheet of paper, and I just say, what can we do? What sounds familiar? And then how can we push the envelope? Like chicken. Everyone knows chicken. Everyone loves chicken, right? But one of the most common questions is, how can I make it in a new way? Right? I'm tired of eating the same chicken. I see a lot of people shaking their head like, I would have never thought about that. See, that's the point. So what we do is I just say, how could I push the envelope? And that's what inspires me, but it has to be simple. So I'm not getting, truffles sourced from France. We're not bringing in eggplant from Thailand to make any of these recipes. If you got that and you want to do it, go right ahead. But because the following is so vast, I've got people from LA, in California, all the way to New York. We got people in Germany. I've got to use things that you could probably go to like a Walmart and pick up. I can't use crazy ingredients. There's a few things like, white balsamic vinegar or something like that. But other than that, I don't go crazy.
So that's what keeps you inspired. How do you inspire your cooks?
The ones that cook for me? Mm-hmm. Oh, with their paycheck.
That's a good answer. That's a great answer.
Okay, aren't you inspired by your paycheck? No. No, I think, so at the restaurants, we try to keep it lighthearted, keep a really cool environment. We try to, inspire and encourage them to be their unique individual selves, just trying to pull out the best gifts that are in people and use them in that way. Because I feel like if you're operating from an area that's your strength, you will be more efficient, you'll be happier, and make good food. So, if it's for the restaurant, that's kind of how we try to approach that for inspiration.
So talk to us about the restaurant.
Oh, okay. So I do own a restaurant. It's a fantastic restaurant where we serve recipes that make you go, I would have never thought about that. Yeah. It's called Greens and Gravy. It's in Atlanta, and it's like an Atlanta hotspot still. It's pretty cool. It's everything that I know and loved as I was growing up with a twist or a spin. So I'll give you an example. So Atlanta is the home of the lemon pepper chicken wing. Right? I don't think there's another geographical location on the planet that serves as many wings as Atlanta does. So I couldn't do lemon pepper wings, right? But what I could do is a lemon pepper fried spare rib, right? And people go, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that he fried a whole spare rib? I would have never thought about that, right? So it's that kind of thing, right? So, or we'll do, and don't worry, we braise them so that they're tender first, right? Or we'll do like we've got our collard greens, right? We do it with smoked turkey, very traditional, but we serve it with a watermelon chow chow. So chow chow is normally a condiment that's made with tomato and onion, a little pickly situation, but we use watermelon instead, right? So we just try to like infuse, a little creativity in the restaurant. So it's great. We open every day except for Mondays. We do dinner every day, and then we do brunch on the weekend. So we do peach cobbler waffles, and we do banana pudding waffles, and we just do a lot of really good like stuff. Our fried chicken, because you really can't have a soul food joint without fried chicken.
Right.
Come on. So we do a lemon pepper honey fried chicken that was voted #1 in Atlanta by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is the main paper there. Thank you.
So look at you.
So that's pretty dope. So it's a great place. We play old school R&B, so like the Delphonics, the Spinners, Anita Baker, like all the real good stuff that, when music was music.
Right.
We play that when you come in. We serve Kool-Aid in mason jars. We serve sweet tea in mason jars. We serve the macaroni and cheese in a little mini cast iron skillet. We do a butter pecan cornbread that's fantastic. So it's all, again, it's stuff that You're like, oh, I know cornbread. But do you know butter pecan cornbread?
Right.
I know. You say, I say exactly. You go, I never would have thought about that. So that's greens and gravy, and I'm actually opening. So I'm gonna bring one to Chicago, just FYI.
Yeah,
I'm coming. That's my next market to conquer. I ran into a bunch of challenges, but timing is everything. Let's just say that. So I'm coming to Chicago with greens and gravy.
No. We love that.
Okay.
Here's the reality, man. Food, not only is it obviously good to eat, but it's inspiring when you get other people inspired. So when you start to think about opening businesses and growing your brand, how is it that you keep your employees on track? Because that's generally, in today's market, talent acquisition is hard, right? Finding people that are talented enough to replicate what you're doing, right? On an ongoing basis. Like the restaurant is open now, you're in Chicago, right? So how do you retain that?
Prayer.
We pray a lot too.
You will, let me tell you, own a restaurant, you will get to know the Lord. No, I think this is where the corporate background comes into play. So one of the things I looked at as I began my entrepreneurial journey, especially with like different locations, was business models that existed that I could sort of glean from. So one of the most successful brands that are out there right now is McDonald's, right? You got to admit McDonald's may not have ever won a taste test for having the best hamburgers, but in terms of revenue, they are successful in leaps and bounds, right? So how can McDonald's become so successful with revenue and have one of the worst turnover rates in American history? What are they doing at headquarters or whatever it is from their operations that makes that even possible? Not only that, but you would think that a place that has that much turnover, how can you go to any McDonald's anywhere in the world, and as a consumer, you know exactly what to expect? Like, how is that even humanly? What are they doing to make that possible? And what I learned from that after doing some research is that their systems are not based on people, their systems are based on processes, right? So what happened was there's some genius that sat down before the first brick was ever laid and said, we're going to develop a process so that step 1 is this for everything. Step 2 is this for everything. Step 3 is this for everything. And we're going to plug people in to these processes to make them go forward. If for some reason the outcome is not what we hope for, that means somewhere along the line someone didn't follow a process.
Right.
So when you have that much turnover, what you're training on is process, not necessarily depending upon the intellect of people to get something done. It's like that theory that says I can go into a room, I can listen to one person say something to 2 people. Mm-hmm. One person has one theory and one conclusion, the other person has a different one, right? So knowing that I wanted to be successful in the restaurant business, I said, I have to develop a process that's centered, or an operation that's centered around the processes and not necessarily the people. Now, my management staff is a whole different story, but my day-to-day operations has to be process-oriented.
Let's talk about, in this era of social media, right? You have definitely mastered the use of social media, and it's played a major role in your career. So how did that come about, and why is it that you use it the way that you use it?
Well, I think the way it came about was I said to myself, I have a lot of conversations. Do y'all talk to yourself, or is it just me?
Absolutely.
Okay. I have a lot of conversations with me. I'm not crazy, I promise. Okay, but no. So I had a conversation with myself, and I said, what was important was I need to figure out how to reach people. Right? Where are people? People are on social media. People are spending their time scrolling, liking, sharing. And this is a trend that's happening across pretty much the landscape of media at this point. I think we're now entering the phase where as much advertising dollars that are spent on linear media as spent on digital media, and the trend is that that's going to surpass. So that means people are now watching less and less like TV or reading newspapers or listening to radio, and they're now streaming their information. They're now scrolling past because that's where the dollars are being spent. So I said, hey, if that's where we're going, how do I reach these people on social media? I better get good at understanding how to use Facebook. I better get good on, how to use Twitter. I better become good at how to use, Instagram. And so that's where it all came from. That's where the thought process happens. And with anything, like the more you do it, hopefully, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So I've been learning tricks and tips and, how to beat algorithms and, how to catch people's eyes and how to create sales funnels and how to create community as a part of that.
It can work for you, and it can definitely work against you, right? So and I say that because right now everyone's an instant critic, right? So it used to be where the restaurant would open and then the writer would come out, you wouldn't know who they were, right? In Chicago, like a Pat Bruno.
Right.
He'd sit in the restaurant and he'd give a review. You wait until it came out. But right now, instantly, right? If there's a mistake in the restaurant, if there's a pause in service, if there was just a hiccup or a misstep, instantly people go right to social media. And sometimes they say great things, but most times they don't, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate that?
So that becomes difficult, right? Because that exposes if there's anything going wrong in the operation, which you would want to know and you need to address if there's a real problem. But then also I think you have to think about it this way. The reviews that people post for restaurants, for example, on social media are skewed. I don't care how you look at it. And the reason I say they're skewed is because think about where you guys may go frequently. You love this restaurant, you love going to STK, you love going to Oceanair, we all love going to Papado, and we'll go all the time, right? You go a lot. How many times have you actually reviewed a restaurant that you go to all the time? Chances are almost never. You have one bad experience at a restaurant that you've gone to, you're jumping on the bandwagon and you're going to Yelp and you're going to write a negative review. So as a business owner, you have to understand that the people who are doing the reviews are not your consistent customers. These are people who may have had a bad experience. If there is a common theme or a common denominator, you may want to address that. Right. But you just got to get in the mindset that people are going to go and complain. And I'll give you a very real example. We have complaints on Yelp. I mean, every business does. The complaint, the food was amazing, but there was nowhere to park, so I gave the restaurant a 1. Okay, I'm sorry about that. The food was amazing. You have to get the fried chicken, but the radio was too loud. And I go, okay, I'm sorry. I don't really know how to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So I look at the reviews, and it just depends on what they are. But you're right. It can help you. It can hurt you. But this is where community comes in, right? Because you can do things to sort of counteract that. So you can build community so that you're not just waiting on people to walk through the door. You've already started sales funnels, and you started, talking to people and drumming up your business. So people are excited for you, and they advocate on your behalf. So we've got some of that stuff happening too.
So when I look at restaurants and other restaurateurs people who've obviously been in the industry for a very long time, and they have one part of their business they do very well, right? So if it's cooking, they can cook very well.
Yes.
If it's greeting and mingling with guests, they can do that very well. I think that's part of the hiccup or hurdle sometimes that we come against when it's a business owner that takes on the whole challenge. Have you experienced any of that?
Yes and no, but I think if I knew from the beginning that if it was going to be successful, I couldn't do everything. I think that's also a part of us that we have to release. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, I mean, you got to release that mind. And it took me a while to get there. I didn't get there overnight. But you can't be all things to all people. So you have to understand what you're good at and what you're not so good at. And we call that areas of opportunity. We don't call those weaknesses, okay? These are areas of opportunity. So you say, what are my areas of opportunity, right? What risk does this present? And then how can I mitigate such risk to make sure the operation becomes successful? So this is where you go, listen, I might be amazing at cooking, but not so good at understanding how to run a restaurant, inventory, first in, first out. So maybe I should bring somebody on board to partner with me in the areas I'm not so good at. Or HR guy like me goes, well, I'm not going to be at the restaurant every day because I want to open up 18 more restaurants. So what I need to do is staff according to. So find somebody who has a strength over here, a strength over here, a strength over here, put the right processes in place, put the right parameters in place, the right checks and balances, and then put some prey on top of that with a little piece of lemon pepper honey. And
I did not think of that.
I know. I don't know why you didn't think of that.
So you participate. I was following some of the stuff you were doing on social media. There's a vegan challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about that.
So there was. Okay, so
It was.
No. Because people don't want to be vegan all the time. Okay?
Right.
Non-vegans.
Is it trendy?
It is trendy. Vegan and keto. But people don't want to be vegan all the time. Okay? They want to be vegan when it's convenient. So no, they
to
do.
all the vegans out there.
No, for real. Non-vegan, the people who are non-vegan, what I realize is that it's very intimidating because you've got vegans who've been vegan for the last 50 years, 30 years. I want to date people. For a long time, they've been vegan, and what happens is they're like militant with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that water is not vegan water. You can't drink that. You know, like they really, I'm like, it's water. What animal died from the water? You know, and they're like, well, there are parasites in it. You didn't clean it. So what I wanted to do was provide a community where the transition would be a little bit easier. And if you were conscious about what you wanted to put into your body, you had resources to go to where the food that we prepared was a little bit more palatable than just twigs and berries, leaves and nuts, okay? So you wouldn't be hungry when we got done. There's not a lot of resources. So we called the group on Facebook Vegan, but with soul. Okay, vegan. Now you may not lose much weight on the vegan but with soul diet, but the food is amazing. The food we do a cauliflower that's smothered, but we fry it first. If you never had fried cauliflower, I'm telling you, it's amazing. And you smother it in like an onion and pepper gravy. I'm sure it's got as many calories as fried chicken.
No, all the calories are gone.
Yeah, no, they ain't gone. They ain't gone. So after 30 days, people are like, I gained 15 pounds. I'm sorry, you gained 15 pounds. Oh, did you eat good? I ate great. But we started this challenge, and I created new content, new videos, basically every day. I realized there's a need for it, so I'm actually writing another cookbook called Vegan But With Soul, the actual cookbook, and then starting in January, because most people want to, a challenge or something more healthy. Trisha, hey Trisha, they want to do something like more healthy, more challenging, and so we do that. We'll do it in January.
So talk to us about the cookbook. So are you like in creating recipes? How does that come about? So again, I look and say, what do I want to eat? How can I push the levels of creativity? And then how can we make it? So I kind of want you to go, are you sure that's vegan? Because I don't know. So we have like a biscuit bread pudding with a crown apple caramel, right? And you go, now let me see. Like, quit playing. Look at him. Look at him.
That sounds amazing. But there's no animal product in it whatsoever, right? So, or I have it is a butter pecan sweet potato milkshake. That's complete, I know, right? It's completely vegan. And you go, how did you do that, right? So again, but I want to get people, now there are some healthier things, don't get me wrong, okay? If you want salad, we got that too.
1 or 2 items.
Yeah, but
right.
I want to give you an option just in case you want to come over to the dark side, you see. But nah, so I wanted to just like create recipes and ideas that just push the levels of creativity. There are 129 recipes and cocktails because, I mean, that's what we do. Gotta have a cocktail in the book, and it's coming out. I'll have it out in time for January.
Okay.
But it's amazing, and I just wanted to give people a resource that just doesn't exist on the market. At least the books I looked in, okay, and I bought every vegan book that was out there to do research, and I'm like, yeah, we don't want quinoa today. I'm good with farro. We don't need to eat that today. You know what I mean? Like, who wants garbanzo beans all the time? Your coworkers would hate you. So.
Do you find yourself cooking in environments where, not necessarily non-traditional, but when you go into someone else's home, right? Yeah. Do they automatically point and say, "Oh, guess who's here"?
No, I don't really go eat at people's house like that.
You don't eat the potato salad?
No. The people whose homes they can cook.
Right.
Like they could cook. Like there's a she doesn't know I'm gonna say this, but there's a lady who became a really good friend of mine. She was a follower, and we got real close. Her name is Crystal, and she lives out not too far from where I live, a couple miles away. And I go to her house sometimes, and she'll have like, she made like breakfast potatoes one time, and the food was really good. So people whose homes I go to that can really cook, man, if it's not good, I'm gonna tell you.
No, do you hold on though? Do you really say it?
Oh, you don't know me, huh? I say, sis, what this is? What you don't put? You got a little more salt, right? Yeah. You got a little garlic powder that's
right.
used. Yeah, no, I in a loving way.
Right.
Very loving. But people who can't cook know they can't cook.
They do it, but they always want you to try something.
But I tell them, no, this ain't good. But you never leave people down. You say, perhaps if you would have done this way,
right.
You engage in conversation and make it a teaching moment. Okay? Yeah. It's the HR in me. You make it a teaching moment. That's how you do it.
Now, do you cook for the holidays?
No, I eat for the holidays. No, I don't really do a lot of cooking. That's a
theme, right?
Yeah, it's a theme. If there's no food, what are we doing here? Huh? No. No, I don't really cook a lot. I cooked like maybe 2 or 3 holidays ago. We have a very small family, so there's not a whole lot. And I had weight loss surgery, FYI. I had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy. So I could only eat, a little bit. I got so upset because those White Castle, the Impossible Burger, I could only eat 2, and I wanted 3, and I couldn't get it down. So I don't do a lot of eating. I'm lying. I do a lot of eating, but I do eating in small portions.
Right. A lot of sampling.
Yeah. But my family cooks. So if I come to Chicago, we'll go to my family, and my whole family can cook. Everybody. They thick, so.
What's that address? On what? Right?
I inbox you.
Guys, have you enjoyed this? This is what we call a treat, right? Literally and figuratively, right? This is why we love to be part of Chicago Humanities Festival, because you get a chance to do this. Ordinarily, you'd be someplace else, but you're on the south side of Chicago. You're talking to a person who is truly a foodie, who is actually loving what he's doing, and dropping nuggets, right, for us, because a lot of times we don't get a chance to see the people and touch the people. So I am very honored that you are here on the south side. On the south side, baby.
I don't mind. Y'all got good food out here. We're going to Two Fish when we leave here. I know what a good food is. Don't play with me.
At this time, we want to open it up a little bit for some questions, because I'm sure we have a few questions out there. Do we have a mic for them? Yep.
Yeah. I can shout. You both mentioned your grandmothers. I think you should have a shout out for your grandmothers.
Oh, yeah. Definitely do that.
If you have a question, just raise your hand.
What do you think of Chef Ramsay?
Gordon Ramsay? Yeah. He's fine. I think he's fine. His approach might be a little abrasive, but I think, that's TV, I think underneath that, he's got to be a kind-hearted person somewhere. And his replies on Twitter are epic. So if you ever get a chance to look at his replies, how he replies, because people will say, what do you think about this? I made this. And his replies are like, he calls it everything. So it's pretty hilarious. But it's TV. Like, he's doing that for TV. Right. Yeah.
We have a question over here.
If you never got in the business of food, what do you think that you would be doing now?
I would be a stripper if I never got it. My nickname would be Hickory Smoked Bacon. No.
Wow.
No, honestly, if I never got into food, I'd probably still be working in HR, to be honest with you, like climbing a corporate ladder. But even when I was working in corporate America, I still was focused on food. I don't think I would be doing anything other than something in food. This isn't a fluke. This isn't, I stumbled upon this. This was deliberate. This was a choice. As a matter of fact, I used to do spoken word poetry. Like, I used to be in the Chicago scene doing spoken word poetry. And I was like, I ain't never seen no rich poets like this here. So, well, I guess I won't be doing no more poetry. And I focused in on food. So it's what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah.
All right.
You only have room for 5 herbs or spices in your cabinet.
I don't even use Lori seasoning salt anymore. The salt and pepper shouldn't even count. That shouldn't even be there. So garlic powder, onion powder. The third one has to be a cross either between dried Italian seasoning or herbs de Provence, which is like basically the same thing. So that's 3. The fourth one would be smoked paprika, and then the fifth one, Periscope, is dried fennel seed. Is amazing. Dried fennel is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
How do you deal with heart healthy and portion size?
How do I deal with it?
Yeah.
Listen, I am your cook, not your doctor, okay? So I think portion control is important. I have a tool that helps me out now with portion control. But what I found, to be very honest with you, is I could post healthy recipes all day long. They will not get engagement. How many times have you guys shared a salad post that somebody posted? Never, right? But let Tasty post something with gooey, ooey, chocolate dripping, butter melting, your share. So that's what people want to see. They want to see, I mean, the numbers tell you that. So I make stuff that's ooey gooey, and if you have to modify it, modify it. Or, just get you a little piece. That's it. Just get you a little something, and then just go on and, eat the rest of the salad. How about that?
So you said that your grandmothers are like your big culinary inspirations. I know for me, like I was always trying to replicate and make my grandmother's biscuit recipe look better. Once I finally made her biscuits look better, I knew that I was really doing something in the kitchen. What was your dish that was like, oh, maybe I'm actually kind of good at this?
Oh, my grandmother had so much stuff, like oxtails, greens, obviously, good cornbread. But see, I bet your grandmother did the same thing mine did. She used to always send me out to grab something. She's almost finished with the dish, and then she said, baby, go get that. And then I was like, what you just do? She's like, I just put a little something in there, right? And so it was always the measuring, but it was so many different dishes that I remember that she was just great at. And even if I used to just think, well, maybe it's just like, it's my grandmother, so everything she does is great, just for me, but everyone would say that. And I was like, man. So she gets in the kitchen now. My grandmother is 96. And she was at the kitchen with me a couple years ago. We did a special with WGN, and she talked about me. I said, Ma, the camera and the microphone is still on, right? And she said, you don't have any lids in your kitchen, and where's all the ladles, and you need all this stuff, but it's exactly how she is, right? And so I'll tell this quick story. It's my best story with my grandmother. We were kids, we were growing up, and when you didn't have enough freezer space in the wintertime, you had the screen door and you had the back door. That was the extra freezer, right? Especially in that below zero weather. And she was baking pies. And what happened was she forgot to close the other screen because it was a security door, screen door, and then it was the back door. And so
South side.
Okay. Okay. But what happened was the squirrels got to her pies. Oh, she was heated. All the squirrels in the neighborhood knew not to ever come back. But it was so funny because I remember that vividly, and I had to be about 9 years old, right? But then that's when I realized that everyone's grandmother had 2 or 3 deep freezers, right? But during the holidays, man, you would run out of space, and I couldn't understand why we ran out of space so much. But when I think about cooking, I think about that story, and it's really close to my heart.
For me, macaroni and cheese. But I got it down pat. I mean, I got it good. Don't nobody make better macaroni and cheese than me. When I figured out how to get that macaroni and cheese just right, I mean, that was it. And I think now it's probably been shared. I think the view count on Facebook is like 15 or 16 million views. So that's like probably.
Why are you bragging?
Well, I was validating the story. I call it. Yeah, there you go. I'm a social media guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So macaroni and cheese for me is what it was.
Anyone else?
Yeah. I know you guys are both very busy running successful businesses, but have you had opportunities to mentor? Particularly, I could see young men would be really inspired by both of your paths being self-taught and successful, and from the south and west sides of Chicago.
See how she said South first? So I'll take that. I'll take that one.
But she saved the best for last. Go ahead.
So I have a culinary program. We have, as a company, Rome's Joy Companies, we have a culinary program. It's called Mise en Place. Mise en Place is a French term for all things in order. And one of the things that we started, and the reason we started it, because there was a lack of talent, and there is a lack of talent. I think that the heart is in the right place, but a lot of times you lose the focus because you don't have the rearing. So part of the focus was to make a conscious decision to invest in human capital. So through our programming, that's what we've done. We forged relationships with McCormick Place, as well as University of Chicago, Alternative School Network, Centers for New Horizon. There's a variety of other organizations that we're partnering with to fill that gap. Because what we do know is that we made a conscious decision to come back into a community that is so rich in history and culture that we wanted to not only tell the story, but we wanted to write our own narrative.
That's good. That's good. I don't have anything as elaborate as that.
See?
No, so my approach has been a little bit different. It's very difficult for someone in my position to mentor in the traditional sense because everything I do is basically virtual, right? The brick and mortars just came about. So what I do with that is I've got people who work for me with checkered pasts. People who would not be given an opportunity somewhere else. A perfect example is I have a person who she does great in the kitchen. She makes the best omelet. She makes the best greens, but she likes to get high, right? And unfortunately, you can't do that and work. If you were functioning, it's a difference. We might have I'm from the West Side. I might have a little piece of grace. But I've rehired her again to give her another shot. So I look at, one of my inspirations is Miss Robbie from Sweetie Pies. I don't know if you know, there's a show that comes on. She owns a soul food restaurant called Sweetie Pies in St. Louis. And she's super adamant about giving folks second chance, third chance, fourth chance. So in that sense, I offer some mentorship. I also teach master classes on the stuff that people are so interested about. How do I grow the audience? How do you master branding? How do you master social media? So I do it in that sense, but not in the traditional, just because everything I do is very, very virtual. And I've got followers from every corner of the world. So a physical, brick and mortar program would be just about impossible. Yep. Yeah, so I do it. She's asked about this. I do a traveling dinner party series called Dining with Darius Cooks. 25 seats, private home. No one knows what I'm gonna cook. They just know I'm coming and they buy a ticket. And I just did it in May. You missed it. But Pamela Jackson was there in May. She was there. So we did it in May. And I'm going to do it again. I just don't know when because I'm opening up another restaurant in a couple weeks. So schedule's kind of tight.
We're going to make sure we get him back here, though.
Question in the back.
Yeah, could you speak a little bit as an entrepreneur how you raise capital to start your first business and how you're
Yeah, so how did I raise capital? It's a good question. I was lucky enough to be in a position where I used the funds from my full-time job to finance my dream. And I'll tell this real quick story. So it was just a fluke. One day I was like on Facebook and I was like, if I do a dinner party, would you come? Right? No idea, no business model, whatever. So people were like, well, yeah, I'd come. I said, oh, really? Right? So I'm trying to figure out the numbers and whatnot. So I put tickets on sale and the first 25 seats sold out in like 5 minutes, right? I was like, oh, okay, I was like, on to something, right? But people got upset. They were like, well, I didn't get to see it. I didn't see it. So I had to do another day. So eventually one date turned into three turned into 150 in 1 year, pretty much. So in my mind, that was great, right? But underneath that, what I realized, and I ran into this by mistake, is that I started doing things that generated revenue in the pre-sales, right? And this is where working online helps you out. If you create products that generate revenue in the pre-sale, you can basically finance the entire project or use that capital that you may have raised for that or the profit that you get from that to fund another project. So in my mind, everything I do and now that I think about it, I have to be able to raise capital for my next project using this current project. So I'm always thinking one project ahead, if that makes any sense. And then I'm just lucky enough to be able to, I could charge a premium. So I'm still under market value. So for example, the tickets to my dinner party are $175 a piece. People go, $175, oh my God. But my counterparts are serving 4 courses for $400. I'm serving 7 courses for $175. You see what I'm saying? So I'm still under market value, but still for my demographic a little bit high. But that's how I raised capital. That makes sense. Yeah.
After all these inspiring answers, where do you get chicken?
Where do you get chicken?
Where does a normal person get chicken that isn't like leather?
Chicken you mean like from the restaurant?
No, where do you buy chicken to cook it?
Oh, you can go to the grocery. You can go to Mariano's, you can go to Dominic's, you can go to Jewel. No more Dominic's, right? Dominic's is gone. You see how long I've been gone, child. Dominic. Back in my day, we had more annoying back in my day, okay? No, I've been gone for a long time. I go to like a regular grocery store, and what I do, so here's the tip. I buy chicken, the whole chicken, and cut it up myself. So I just was on live stream the other day. I think like 65,000 people watching me live, and I took a whole chicken and cut it up live. So I buy whole chickens, and you can buy, like Whole Foods has a really great organic, corn-fed, yellow tint hue chicken, or you can get the other chicken that's on sale and just cut it yourself. And if it's tough though, it might be your cooking technique. How are you cooking it? No, I'm being very serious. How are you cooking it?
You put at his wife.
Oh. No, so it could be the technique. How are you cooking the chicken?
You take responsibility.
I'm going to take the fifth on that, but
Okay.
But you're saying that you don't have to be searching all over the place, because what I've found is like hospital chicken and hospital cafeterias is good, and the chicken that we end up preparing at home is like leather.
I want to say, I think it's your preparation process. I'll tell you what. If you go to DariusCooks.tv and under the search option type in chicken, you'll have dozens of recipes and videos. Check out one, and you'll see that it'll come out pretty good. Hopefully. If not, email me. We'll talk about it.
I have a quick question. Would you ever make a cereal-infused pastry?
A cereal-infused pastry? Yeah, I do stuff now with cereal. I'm playing around with a banana pudding, but I'm trying to make the cookies out of Frosted Flakes.
That's a loaded question.
Oh, okay, because Frosted Flakes and banana go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I'm playing around with that idea. But yeah, I use cereal in a few things. I actually crust a pork chop in cornflakes and Parmesan cheese. It's pretty good because I'm fat.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we got time for
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Why is my cookbook so hard to find?
Uh-oh.
Because it's not on Amazon, because Amazon wants 47%. And I've sold 7 figures worth of cookbooks. So 7 figures times 47% would be the money not in my pocket and in Amazon. And I couldn't use that money to capital for my next projects. So the cookbook is sold at DariusCooks.tv. Some of these folks who are here, they have the cookbook. It's very easy to find the cookbook. DariusCooks.tv/store. That's where the book is. The PDF version is there, the ebook is there, and the physical book is there. And the t-shirt, everything's there. No, I didn't bring any with me, but if you go to DariusCooks.tv/store, you can pick up any one of those books today.
You get everything.
Yeah,
Everything is
with
there.
no problem.
Do we have any other questions?
Will you have recipe for macaroni and cheese as vegan?
Yes, Ooh, okay, so I know where this question is coming from. I teased probably 6 or 7 months ago. I made a recipe for mac and cheese. I made it vegan, and it looks so good that everybody's like, where's the recipe? Well, the recipe is going to be in the cookbook that's coming to you in January. It's coming. I promise. And it's delicious.
Well, let's take this time and give Darius a round of applause, please.